Do you have a particular love personality? I'm talking about not just a general personality, but when it comes to finding love, are there particular personality traits that you are more aligned with? Perhaps habitually you may recognize those habits, or maybe not. My name is Georgia Foster, and I am known as the emotional well-being expert because I help people adjust their thinking to improve the quality of their life. And one of the ways that you can do that is to discover what particular love personality traits are holding you back and maybe the ones that could really support you. So I want you to think about what is a trait that you maybe feel aligned to when it comes to attracting a partner. There's one particular trait that can often seem weak in nature. It's called the pleaser love type. And the pleaser love type is the person who really wants to be loved, to be liked, and to belong. And that's a great goal to have, of course. But if you come from that needy space, if you come from that place where you really, really want that relationship to work, sometimes you give off the wrong energy. And that energy can be quite detrimental to your sense of well-being. I was only talking to a client this morning. We were talking about a relationship issue that he'd been having. And one of the things we talked about is who you attract, right? Do you attract somebody who you know is never going to be available? My mother calls it the 1 foot out the door man, okay? That they're never really fully immersed in the relationship. And there will be red flags along the way. And the love type, the pleaser love type, will often override those red flags, those intuitive moments, because they really want the relationship to work. But ultimately, you really have to think about, do you want to be in a relationship where you really are aligned with somebody? Do you want to always feel that you're never good enough? Because this is what happens when you try to please someone too much. And this isn't just about a love, intimate relationship. I'm talking about friendships as well and work colleagues. But thinking about it from a love personality type, do you know of people who have this particular trait? Because what will happen is they will tend to attract narcissistic people, critical, judgmental people, and this feeling of never being able to please that person, to satisfy that person. But ultimately, they're quite critical of that person. And then the relationship will, at some stage, start to break down. And that's what's really interesting, why a lot of people who want to be in a relationship, they want the relationship more than the person. So they try and make it work. And this can be quite an unsexy quality to have. And I've seen it for myself. And I know in my past, I'm a pleaser by nature. I like to make sure people feel happy and safe, but not to the detriment of my own well-being anymore. But I used to be that people pleaser, and I used to get myself into some pretty tricky relationship situations. And not because there was something about them that was very attractive, but also there was something about them that I recognized in my history was never good for my self-esteem. So if you have that pleaser personality trait, what would be really good is to think about how you can start to be that intuitive pleaser, where you're starting to please yourself as well. Because I think everybody needs to have an opinion. I think everybody needs to be heard. And that includes being in a relationship, whether it's new or has been in your life for a long time. And the other personality trait is the perfectionist love trait. And this is interesting because this particular personality really is looking for that perfect person. This person's got to earn a certain amount of money, they've got to drive a certain car, they've got to be in a certain career, they've got to live in a certain environment, there's a list. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a list about having somebody in your life that's really good for you. But I always think it's quite tricky to decide that this person has to have all of this on the list, because ultimately you want the character traits of having integrity, emotional intelligence, funny perhaps. They don't have to be this outgoing, gregarious person, but sometimes being a bit too picky in that perfectionist love personality trait can really hold you back from this most incredible person who's just waiting in the wings for you. And it's also a protective mechanism. And that protective mechanism is, well, if they're not perfect, then I'm just going to stay single. Or if I can't find the right person, it's because, there's no man out there that's good enough for me. You know what? Love comes in different packages, different shapes, colors, and sizes. And I think it's really important to know that, who you decide to attract, it's about them being good for you, good for your soul, good for you deep, deep down. So what about attracting somebody who is good for you? What is the personality trait that you need? I think that great, lovely quality of charisma. Now, charisma is an old-fashioned word, but it's a goodie, and I love it. Charisma is one of my very, very favorite words to describe so many people that I've helped improve the quality of their life through my self-esteem program, Believing in You, or my emotional resilience training. Obviously, those who are looking for love, it would be Cracking the Love Code. Because charisma is an energy, it's an aura. You don't have to be the slimmest, tallest, most beautiful, smartest person in the room to be charismatic. That's not what charisma is. Charisma is the most beautiful aura of energy where you're able to walk into a room and feel, sometimes it is important to be vulnerable and be, taking ownership of your vulnerabilities. Sometimes being charismatic is about knowing when to say what to say, how much and what not to say. It's this beautiful emotional intelligence. And I find charismatic people so attractive because they don't need to be perfect. They're not looking for the perfect solution. They're looking for a much more authentic, intuitive life. And that includes partners. Because when you have that deeper integrity for yourself, when you really have that true sense of self-worth, that you know that you want a partner who has that same integrity. You want them to have that same sense of honesty, but you don't have to be the same personality. Sometimes a lovely combination of having a sense of being a little bit perfect with, there are certain things, and I say this from an emotional well-being point of view, is that expecting a sense of respect, without that person having to be perfect, a sense of having fun and spontaneity, because a perfect person sometimes can be quite rigid in nature, whereas somebody is more chilled out and fluid in terms of how they go about their life. That's a really lovely quality to have. So think about ways where you could feel that charisma within yourself. Remember, I have this on other videos, is your history is not your future, but you need to make that change. And one of the ways you can do that is with the power of hypnosis. Hypnosis is such an incredible, fast-tracking way. And you know what? There's incredible science behind the work that I do. I've been hypnotizing people for nearly 30 years with incredible results, because when your conscious mind really, really wants to find love, but your deeper mind, where all of your emotional habits are stored, is needy and trying to please too much, that means that sometimes you'll be rebuffed, rejected by people, because people, I believe, want to be liked and loved. They don't want to feel this neediness. They want to feel more equal. And I'm talking about a healthy relationship, of course. So think about your love personality trait. What is it that you want it to be? A little bit more charismatic, a little bit more nurturing, but not too much. But a little bit of a combination of being more, expecting a bit more from that person that you're looking for, that has that integrity, that has that emotional intelligence, because they are out there. Okay, I want you to really think about writing down the qualities you're looking for that support you to engage in a relationship that's good for your soul, that's good for you. Okay, I'd love you to subscribe to my channel. I'd love you to join me on a journey of self-discovery, of self-worth, because that is what's going to make a huge difference in your life. So click the button to subscribe and join me any which way you would like to discover more top tips, great advice, and genuine results. Thank you.